Hi there, CB, Alex, and all the rest of you good people. To follow up on your question there, since you seem to have a bit of problem replacing your pattern, I thought that I would record another AVI and walk slowly through and kind of discuss around your issue there, where you have your screws not aligning according to your requirement. So you have created a pattern here, which the top one is the original, the bottom one, and we can see that the screws are not aligning accordingly to the original here. So let's see what we can do about that. In addition, I got a question on if these screws were kind of with rendered threading, and they were not originally, but I thought, well, hey, that's a good idea. So these screws are, as you see, they're only a body, and the actual pattern here is in this case a decal, because that gives a good solid thread through the whole screw. You could create this as a pattern as well, but it will probably be a bit difficult to align. Now the pattern is just simple, very simple, looks like this. Vertical lines originally, and then tilted a couple of degrees to give that pitch to it. Done with rendering, obviously. So if we go to the rendering, we can see that the material in this part, we have a decal here. And if we edit that decal, we can see that these are the parameters used to create this specific one out of the image that I have there. Okay, so that's just how I did that, and since this is a standard screw, this will reflect in all the assemblies where it's used, obviously. So if we go to traditional shading, we can see that these are just screws with no threading. Let's keep that for a while and see what we can do about this. So now to your problem. You had the screws, you had the coordinate systems, and you didn't get them to align. Now I'm thinking that you are using a pattern based on points, which is not using the actual coordinate system correctly, or as I intended them to be used. So let's walk through the process and see where we end up with this. So we got these 12 screws here. We want to replace them with this screw. If I push the home key, you can see that this is how this is oriented. We got the Z-axis pointing up, we got the X-axis pointing inwards, and we got the Y-axis pointing sideways inwards, and the X-axis pointing sideways outwards of the screen. If we take a look at the screw 4, we can see that let's push the home key here so we get the ISO view here. We can see that the Z is pointing just like the other one upwards, but the screw is actually aligned with the Y-axis here, as to where the screw were aligned to the X-axis in this case. So that means a straight off replacement would be a little bit difficult, hence the workaround that we're discussing here. Okay, so we said that we needed a pattern created here first, so we can pattern these screws. In order to do that, we change the reference set to entire parts, so we get to those coordinate systems in that standard screw part. Display those as well, and we're going to wavelink all these CSYSs. So we say CSYS in the selection filter, and we say Control A to select all of them. That means if I hide the screws, we will see a bunch of linked work coordinates or coordinate system from those components, if you like. Now we're going to use those four to line our new screw in there. So we're simply going to add that. We're going to add the screw 3 there, which is the new screw that we want to use as a replacement. And let's get that out of the way. We actually want to replace this. We want to move this guy around, and we want to move this the point actually to this point up here. We also want to tilt that 90 degrees. There we go. And kind of there we have it. So now it's all about creating that pattern. We need a pattern here. So we're going to hide the screw that we're going to use as a base component, the pattern. But first we're going to have to create that pattern. So I'm going to create a general pattern, and I'm going to create a pattern from a point. I'm still going to use a point. Just an object, could be actually the coordinate system as well. And here is the key, and this is where I think things went wrong for you. So we want to use the coordinate system, but in this case we're going to use the point. So I'm going to use this point down here. I'm going to use the existing point there. 2 point. If I can select all by Control Control A selects all the points. I have now created my pattern. But this have no directional sense. This is just patterning the points to those points in those coordinate systems. So if I now take that screw and if I pattern that component, so we select the component, we select the pattern, which would be a point of the pattern, and we select a handlebar down here, and we can see that it's going to create a pattern of those screws, but it's not going to orient them according to the original. So that will be wrong. So let's OK that, and let's bring back the originals, and we can see that, hey, that is not correct. So obviously that was wrong. So we're going to undo a couple of times here so that we get the base situation back here. We're going to see here we got the pattern. We delete that manually, and then we go back to create a new pattern. So we say pattern geometry, and now we're going to be a little bit more careful. So we say that we hide that screw. We say that we want to pattern that point still, but we want to pattern it according to coordinate system, which will also provide a sense of direction here. So we're gonna use the CSYS down here. We can actually put the CSYS, put the CSYS here. There we go. Well, we can use that. This is also kind of crucial. Because this CSYS is what is going to be rippled through here. So that needs to be aligned with the actual original or base coordinate system of the pattern, if you like. So this is, so we can see that Z is pointing upwards, Y is pointing inwards, X is pointing to the right here. Perfect. That means I only need to align this point to that point because that's kind of the origin of the whole thing. So we're gonna actually put that on top of the existing point there, And then instead of point, we're going to use the coordinate system here, because that is what's going to give me the directional sense. So here we select Control A for all, and we say OK to that. Okay, so we created a pattern we can use to pattern our screws around these guys, and they should now align with the original screws. So back to assembly and pattern component. We take the component, we select the pattern and a base for the instance there, and let the system ripple through. And we can now see that since we use the coordinate system and not only a point, the component is now taking into consideration the directional sense of this screw as well. And that's kind of what we wanted to get at. So we replace that to model. We go here and we just hide these guys for now. Obviously, we'll probably delete them, and you would delete the pattern as well, unless you for some reason want that in there. Maybe you want to replace it again. I don't know. I guess that is really what I wanted to convey. So I think the secret here is in the actual, when you create the actual pattern, the pattern geometry here, you need to not use the point, but use the coordinate system. And that is kind of key here. Okay, so that's kind of all I wanted to convey. I hope that this will help you in your future endeavors and replacing your components. And with that, I'm going to leave all you good people. So I hope that you will take good care of yourself and stay healthy, and have a good weekend. Until next time, bye for now. Over and out from Fred.